in the house. Yeah, 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 yeah. We are kicking it with Auntie Leah. Yeah, let's get it, let's do it, let's go. Yeah, let's go, let's get it with Auntie Leah. Yeah, yeah, come on, let's do it. Nothing better than kicking it with Auntie Leah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Auntie Leah is in the house. Yeah, 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 yeah. We are kicking it with Auntie Leah. Yeah, let's get it, let's do it. Come on in. Come on in now. So Auntie Leah can do a thing. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yo, what it do, what it do? Welcome to Kickin' It with Auntie Leah.
Social injustice.
We're just waiting on some more people to come in. People that are here, if you can please hit the like button and share the live, the people to know that we're here. We just like to listen to some music while we're waiting on the rest of the Truth Gang to come to the stage.
Cry when the sirens came. Another young soul gone, another family changed. We march for the truth, but the
We're just
pain
waiting on some more
remains.
people to come in, guys.
Different faces, same
Welcome
story,
to
just
Kickin'
a
It with
different
Auntie
name.
Leah and the Truth
We
Gang.
grew up here and freedom reigns, but freedom feels different when you're fighting for everything. Working two
Just a
jobs,
couple
still
more
can't
minutes.
pay the bills, while the wealthy get richer from the top of the hill. Turn on the news and what
Everybody
do we
please drop
see?
Truth Gang in the
More
comments.
division,
Y'all know
more
how we
hatred,
do it.
less unity. They tell us be patient, wait our turn.
I need
But how
everybody
many
to please share the live
generations
and like the
gotta
live
live
so the
and
video can see the
learn?
algorithm.
We've been knocked down, pushed aside, told to be silent when our people cry. But there's a fire that they can't control. A strength is buried deep within our soul. My people, hold your head up high. Don't let this world convince you not to try. Struggle through the pain. Oh, we'll keep standing in the pouring rain. Hey, they can build walls, they can close doors, but they can't stop what we're fighting for. We are the voice, we are the light. Oh, and together we'll keep up this fight. Children growing up without a chance, caught in a system that won't advance. Schools underfunded, dreams put on hold, while promises fade and stories grow old. Mothers praying every night that the babies make it home alright. Fathers working till their hands are worn, trying to get their families a better morn. Still we rise when they expect us to fall. Still we answer when our people call. Still we love when they give us hate. Still we believe it's not too late. They tell us history's in the past, but the scars of yesterday still last. Red lines drawn through neighborhoods, broken promises dressed up as good. We watch dreams get pushed aside, watch too many mothers cry, watch too many candles burn, while the world keeps taking turns.
Yet our ancestors paved the way through dark nights and harder days. They carry faith when hope was thin, and that's the reason we're still here. So teach the children who they are, not what the doubters say they are. Kings and queens with purpose inside, born with dignity, born with pride. I see the pain, I see the tears. Yes.
I see the battles fought for years.
Just a few more minutes, not a few more minutes.
I see the
Take like one
names
more
we
minute.
can't forget. Oh, the family still demanding
We'll get started
respect.
shortly.
I see the voices crying
Nancy's
out,
video doesn't start till 6 o'clock
asking
p.m.
what
guys.
justice is about. But I also see strength. I also see grace. I see survivors in every place.
Salute,
And no
Jamiria.
matter what they say, no matter what they do,
I know we're starting a little
we
early
are
tonight,
somebody, our lives
but I
matter too.
wanted to watch Nancy. I wanted to watch Nancy Grace's video, and her video comes on at 6 o'clock. I know that we normally start our show at
8 o'clock p.m., but we had to get together and we had to watch Nancy Grace after everything that we have been through today. A very, very, very emotional day. But let me let me just say this, because a lot of people I don't think are understanding the autopsy results. People are taking the autopsy results as if it is a complete loss, right? But it's not. It's not. Think about it. It says undetermined. Cause of death is undetermined. Manner of death is undetermined, pending an investigation. So what that means is it's not over. What it means is they're waiting on additional information to make the final determination of how well Nolan Wells passed away and what caused it. And what we've learned today is that they withheld some organs from the pathologist that completed the second independent autopsy. They didn't have a major part. And what's strange to me is, but it's really not strange, but I'm just going to say, why would you withhold it? You take the organs out, right? You examine the organs, you take what you need to do your toxicology report and to do your examination, and protocol is to return the complete viscera, which includes the throat and neck, back to the body. And that is what they didn't do. So now I am side-eyeing Mississippi, as we all should be. Because why would you not allow the second pathologist to review the neck? What are you hiding? I mean, was he lynched? Was he strangled? And then there was something to the back of his head. And somebody sent me like a diaphragm. Now, let me say this. This is not mine. I did not create it. I'm going to show it to you. But I have not been able to independently verify it as a fact. But someone did put together a diaphragm of what was found on the autopsy of Nolan Wells. We learned that he had a spot in the back of his head. Let me make it a little bigger. That caused concern for the second pathologist. And we also learned that because they were missing his neck and his throat, which is a major part in an investigation when it comes to trying to determine the cause of death and manner of death, is that they were not able to examine it and make a determination. So again, there was a spot on the back of his head and the throat was missing. Now, my question is why? Why do you all think that, hey, thank you so much for being here, Nene. Why would you all think that Mississippi and that diabolical medical examiner with her shady behind would keep the throat and the neck of Nolan Wells? And what caused its injury to the back of his head? I've always asked, guys, listen, pay attention. I've always asked, and why I'm not, there I am. What happened to the bilge pump? How did it break? And then we learned allegedly that the tow company didn't have to come. That's alleged, that it was fixed. And then the boat got back to its destination. And so I'm trying to figure it out. And nobody's really paying attention to this question, because I did my research. And an altercation, a fight on a boat can cause the bilge pump to be damaged. What if it was a fight and Nolan fell backwards and it hit the little cabinet that carried the bilge pump, or his foot may have went through the cabinet, or somebody else's foot, or this boat may not even have a cabinet, right? May have hit the pump during the altercation. It's not far stretched, okay? It could happen. Or when he fell from whatever may have impacted him in the back of the head, because there certainly is a spot, according to the independent autopsy, in the back of the head. Or maybe he was pushed and his head hit it. His head could have hit the bilge pump. And he goes overboard. What do you guys think? Let's talk about it. Let me check to see. No, we got 5 minutes before Nancy Grace chimes in. So let's talk about it. Bob asked, what do you mean? Elaborate on that a little bit more. LaMel says those white guys that were with Nolan are guilty of death. That is possible. All I know is foul play was not ruled out, right? Foul play was not ruled out. So this right here is not a loss. It's a delay. And you got a lot of people out there, they're sad and they're saying, oh, well, this is Ben Crump is being shady or whatever. And this is a conspiracy and it's over. It's not over. If the independent pathologist would have declared no foul play, accidental drowning, it would have been over. Then it'd have been over. But because it says undetermined pending investigation, it is not over. Now, what we have to do as the Truth Gang and the guests that are here, we got to demand that the medical examiner in Mississippi, her name is Stacy. Can't remember off the top of my head her last name right now, but we know who she is. And if not, while we're watching Nancy Grace, we'll go ahead and pull up her name. We need to be emailing. We need to be calling. We need to be showing up if we live there. We need to be writing letters, and we need to be demanding, absolutely 1000% demanding for her to release his viscera, which includes his throat and everything else that they withheld from the second pathologist. Now, John Lennon had 2 pathologists on his panel today, and I want to take a look at that video as well. So stay with us tonight, because they said some interesting things. Some interesting things that I think that it would be beneficial and to help us all to be able to understand what this pathologist did and the terminology, because we know that Ben Crump, he's not a pathologist. He couldn't go into depth, right? He couldn't really explain all the medical terms because he's an attorney and not a doctor. And I wish that Nancy would have set up her video like a premiere to where we can be on. Oh, here it is right here. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. And we are waiting. You know, when Nancy Grace gets on the case, and 95% of the time, excuse me, my Christian friends and family, my brothers and sisters, she gonna get on your ass. She's going to get on your ass, and thank God for forgiveness. I said what I said. Now, listen, I am a Christian. I love God with everything in me, but I will cuss you out and thank God for his grace and his mercy and his forgiveness. So don't test me and don't test my people in the chat, okay? So we got a couple of more minutes, less than 2 minutes before Nancy Grace starts her show. We'll get into that. And then after that, we'll watch a portion of John Lennon's, sorry about that. And if you don't know me, my name is Auntie Leah, and I do have a speech impediment, meaning sometimes I don't pronounce words wrong, but I'm just as real as I can be. And to me, that's what counts. That's what counts, being real and being honest and being dedicated to this cause. Because I'd be darned if we allow Mississippi to Kendrick Johnson, Nolan Wells, just like Lowndes County. Can I get everybody, while we're waiting, to please stop and hit the like button? And on this channel, I read your comments. You do not have to send a super chat for me to highlight or read your comment. Trust me. Okay. So as long as your comment is respectful, if your comment is not respectful, I will politely, sometimes I might stop and cuss you out, but I will skip over your comment. So keep it cute. Gene says, did the second pathologist mention anything about water? All right. So get back to the question. Let's go, guys. Let's go.
Bombshell tonight in the tragic death of a young man, Nolan Wells. In the last hours, we learn the contents of a second independent autopsy on Nolan's body. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. Nolan was not on board. His body spotted by the United Cajun Navy.
We knew in this case, the time frame that was involved, that we were looking for a recovery at this point. It appears as though it was a drowning. Whatever happened really, really close to where the body was found.
Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. And we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation.
What happened to Nolan Wells? I listened and I listened and I listened to our friend Ben Crump as he went through the independent autopsy, and this is what I find to be probative.
Preliminary findings, and this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decomposition.
Decomposition. What does that mean? Probatively, what does that prove? Joining me an all-star panel to make sense of what we are learning tonight, that was an independent autopsy ordered by Nolan Wells's family. We still don't have the official autopsy from the Mississippi Medical Examiner's Office, but straight out to a renowned medical examiner. You know him well. Joining us, Dr. Kendall Crowns. He is the Chief Medical Examiner of Tarrant County, Fort Worth. Literally thousands and thousands and thousands of autopsies under his belt. He is the esteemed lecturer at the Burnett School of Medicine at TCU. I don't have to explain to you what it takes to become not just a medical examiner, but the chief medical examiner in a metropolitan area like Fort Worth. All that aside, COD, MOD, undetermined. But what jumped out at me, among so many things, Dr. Kendall Crowns, what does he mean about the red discoloration in the deep, soft tissues overlaying the occipital bones? What is that? Translate.
So what that is the occipital bone is the bone this is your skull. It's the bone in the back of your head, the directly back side of your head. So when he's describing these hemorrhages in the deep, soft tissues, it means deep in the musculature that holds your head in place, there is a red discoloration. What could this be? It could be settling of the blood from decomposition or from lividity, cooling of the blood. The body has been kind of put on its back and transported to Washington, D.C. So that could be that. It could also be
Trust me,
blunt force
I don't
injuries.
think I know more than you on this, Dr. Kendall Crowns, but you got me drinking out of the fire hydrant. You're giving me so much information. I had to break in right there because you said I'm going to quote, posterior red discoloration in deep, soft tissue overlying occipital. Deep, soft tissue. To a layperson like me, that means it's deep below the skin. And you just stated that could be from the settling of the blood. In other words, if he were lying on his back when he died, the blood would settle to the back of his head. But isn't it true to you, Brian Trasher, Vice President, United Cajun Navy? The Navy participated in the search, and I got to clear up that whole thing about fully clothed with you. That said, isn't it true? And I'm looking at the picture on my phone that I got from an undisclosed source. I'm looking at Nolan's body on the beach. We are not showing it. He's face down, isn't he?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, he was when we flew
Okay, I'm
over.
going to come back to you about the clothing.
Yeah.
What? Repeat?
No, I said when we observed him from the air, yeah, he was face down and he was wearing swim trunks and only swim trunks. I think that the term fully clothed just got taken out of context.
Well, when you look at the body from high up, it appears at first like he had on a shirt with swim trunks, but he does not have on a shirt. He only has on swim trunks. That's a whole peripheral issue. But back to Dr. Kendall Crowns. So, Dr. Kendall Crowns, you may have an explanation for this. I've already thought of one, and I'm not a medical examiner, but I don't see how the deep red, I'm talking about, was there a blow to the back of the head? Did he fall off a boat? Did he hit his head on something else? If it turns out he drowned, how did he get in the water? Why was he in the water? Why did everybody leave him? Lots of questions tonight. But if he was found face down, the blood would not have settled to the back of his occipital.
Well, that's correct at the initial autopsy, but he was also transported to Washington, D.C. on his back, I assume, not on his face. And so after death, you can still have pooling of the blood in the dependent areas if the lividity is not fixed, or even if it is fixed, you can have pooling. So it is difficult to say without seeing the actual reddened area in the deep soft tissue, whether this is just a decompositional artifact or if it's indeed blunt force trauma. Now, they're not describing any injuries to the skin surface, which would still be there if he was, even if he's decomposed, you would still see injuries, abrasions, bruises, lacerations, things of that nature, even with decomposition. So it's difficult to give significance to this deep red area in the musculature of the deep soft tissues of the back of the head without further photographs or more information. To me, could it be blunt force trauma? Yes. Could it be a decompositional artifact? Yes. Could it be something from transport? Yes. Hard to say at this point.
Okay, hold on. Let me just take each one of those. And the rest of the panel, please, if you've got a question or a point, jump in. We need all of your brain power. Oh, that's an open invitation to Mobley to jump in. But 3 things you said, that there could still be pooling of the blood. And I don't want to be too DEFCON 4 into this and get lost in the weeds, but Nolan is dead. He's already been autopsied. Days have passed, and you're telling me that the blood could still sift down from the front of his face to the back of his neck in one specific area. Why wasn't it pulling all the way down his neck? Or why just that one area? I don't believe that when you have been deceased that long, you've already undergone autopsy, they've drained the blood from your body, that somehow in the few hours of transport, you're going to get pooling of the blood to one area in the back of your neck.
So first off, it's not a few hours of transport. It's from whenever the autopsy ended. He's placed on his back. Whenever he's picked up at the scene, he's been placed on his back. So all that comes into play. They don't drain all the blood from the body at autopsy. There's still blood in the body after autopsy. And also, decomposition causes the breakdown of tissues, including musculature, which can give a reddish decoloration from the actual decomposition process of the muscle. So all these have to be considered when you're saying a reddened area, because the doctor didn't call it hemorrhage, which is interesting to me. He called it a reddened area. So I don't know what he's describing. I would love to see pictures, but again, there's no description of a bruise or an abrasion or a laceration on the skin surface of the back of the head. So what the significance of this is, Could it be a decompositional change? Could it be something else like blunt force injury? It's hard to say at this point in time.
I find it very difficult to believe, Dr. Kendall Crowns, that not one, but two medical examiners cannot figure out why he had deep red subcutaneous markings. Subcutaneous, what is that? Deep subcutaneous, what is that?
It's underneath the skin, meaning in the fat or the muscle underneath the skin.
Okay. Straight out to John Mobley joining me out of Charleston. He's a renowned trial attorney, founded John Mobley Law Firm. Okay, Mobley, have at it.
Well, Nancy, I got to call it like I see it. There are a lot of things that I don't like about this presentation. I think the first problem I see is they put out this autopsy and they kind of gave you a lot of sizzle. They gave a big dog and pony show, but they didn't really make it clear on the findings and conclusions and how they could be interpreted. And I think that's kind of the problem with this case. They put all this stuff out there, all the legal terms, all this, forensic jargon, and now everybody's whipped up in a frenzy trying to understand what it means, speculating, guessing. And the reality of it is, unless you're an expert, a forensic expert, none of us are qualified to interpret those findings. Now, I've been involved in countless homicide cases where I've had to look at forensic autopsies and discuss the findings with experts. And that's what you have to do. And ultimately what it comes down to is they put this thing out there, this preliminary autopsy finding, and they did not present any real conclusions. And that is a problem. And to address your specific concern, Nancy,
Put him up.
about
Put up Mobley. Put up Mobley. Listen, I'm not vouching for the character of Crump or Sharpton. That said, of course, are you saying they were wrong not to put it out there? I think they were right to put it out there, whether it's inconclusive or not.
The manner in which they presented
Okay, what do you mean by that?
He just sat there and read it. And number one, I don't think he was the best person to read it. He's just kind of reading off medical and terms that he didn't do the best job of pronouncing. And they didn't really present a conclusive finding. And what that does is,
well, there is no conclusive finding, Mobley.
Well, he should have said that, because what he does, though, in the manner which it's presented, when you take a case like this, you take little bits and pieces and put them out there in that manner, what you're doing is you're feeding these conspiracy theories like, oh my God, there's some big mystery, some conspiracy about what happened, regarding saying, hey, here's the deal. In situations like this, based on the rate of decomposition, things like that.
Don't you get it, man? We still don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. He's got a red mark deep in subcutaneous tissue on the back of his head. Wait.
Here's a problem.
Go back to Kendall Crowns real quick.
I want to address that.
Wait. Kendall. Where's Kendall? Why am I not seeing Kendall? Kendall, please turn around and show everybody what we're talking about, because I'm doing this. Show me occipital.
Occipital's right here. Back ahead.
How
right where your neck
the world, out of his whole body, is that where the blood pools? I'm not buying it. And I'm not saying this is a homicide. I am saying it. There are a lot of disturbing circumstances surrounding this young man, the star athlete's death, and I am not letting it go. And I don't care how much hate mail you send me. I do not care. Okay, Mobley, what else?
What I want to state is that, and this is based on my experience being involved in numerous homicides, having examined numerous autopsies and discussed the case and the findings with numerous forensic pathologists. When you have a body, a human individual, okay, that person has experienced trauma in various physical trauma in various aspects of their life. They just had a picture of him being wearing a football uniform. He can sustain injuries playing football in practice, horse around with his friends. So, a person can die and have different injuries that pre-existed the date of the death that are completely unrelated to the death, but they are there on the body because they're a live, active individual. And that's my whole point about your fixation on the injury to the back of the head. I'm not saying that it was necessarily predated the injury, but there's got to be some medical evidence to tie it to his death. And there is not, because they can't do that. They cannot date that injury.
Okay, guys, you're hearing Mobley. I just lost a satellite. Get that back up for me. In the meantime, let me hear Crump talking about part of the neck structures and specifically the anterior, where that, I'm going to call it bruising. I'll call it a reddened area because we don't know what it was, were absent from the body. What happened to that part of the body? Listen to Crump.
So when they're buried, their remains will all be with them. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity so the second pathologist could be able to examine the organs as well. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body.
From our friends at NAACP. Okay, back to you, Kendall Crowns. And hello, I've got an all-star panel. Where are they? Did they lose their voices? Dr. Kendall Crowns, wouldn't it be important for the second medical examiner, second doctor, to be able to look at the anterior neck structure? They're absent and not received from the body, not received with the body.
That's correct. So it would be important, and that's often the problem with second autopsy is structures are kept by the initial medical examiner for further testing or further evaluation. So the second autopsy is often limited by this. So the problem is the neck structures we're talking about, hyoid bone, thyroid cartilage, laryngeal structures, are the structures that are often involved with strangulation. They can be taken by a medical examiner, dissected, evaluated for fractures or injuries or something of that nature, but then they're kept and they are also then further evaluated by a forensic anthropologist who will look for microfractures and things like that to see if there's any trauma whatsoever. And that's probably what's occurring in this case is they're doing their due diligence and looking at all those neck structures to rule out the possibility of a strangulation, and they haven't done it yet. And that's why they're still pending. And that's why the second examination can't give you more facts because they don't have those structures to look at. Hopefully there will be sharing between the two medical examiners so they can both come to the same conclusion at some point. But right now, those structures are being evaluated by someone else and not available for the second autopsy.
I want to talk to you about what you just said. If I see deep reddening of the tissue in the back of the neck, I'm going to quit calling it the occipital, the back of the neck at the lower part of the head. I want to know what happened up here. I want to know, was the hyoid bone, which is very fragile, it's not attached to anything, it's kind of floating there. And often in ligature manual, any type of strangulation or stopping your airflow, you'll see that very delicate bone fractured. It's gone. Where is it? Everybody's got one. So where is it? Also, Crump stated that the portion of the neck, the interior portion of the neck that will correspond with the hemorrhaging in the back is missing. There are two ways to look at this. One is that it's missing because it's been hidden. It's being withheld from the second doctor. Why? The other way to look at it is what you suggested, Kendall Crowns, and that is that I've seen this done. The way that medical examiners and medical related forensic anthropologists do it, they get a tiny cut of that tissue. They put that under a microscope and they look to see if cells have bruising. It's very painstaking. Could they be doing that? I don't know. But it seems to me they would have included that in their notations that these portions of Nolan's body had been withheld for further testing, but we didn't hear anything about that. Straight out to Sam Crouppen joining us, investigative journalist and star of Samson's World. Sam, did you hear anything about water in the lungs?
No, Nancy, I've heard nothing about water in the lungs. And honestly, I've just been sitting here infuriated that everybody is putting so much pressure on this second autopsy that thankfully Colin Kaepernick paid for. But why are we not putting pressure on Sheriff John Ledbetter? Where is the first autopsy? Why have they held it out? There is a video of two nurses who claim to have seen the transport of this body, and they said he was face down. So it's honestly, for me, it's just disgusting to see the lack of understanding, people commenting on how Ben Crump is reading, people saying Ben Crump is a race hustler. Like, he's the person who's responsible for justice for Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed by 3 racist people, and it was covered up. Stacey Turner, the medical examiner, is well known for the death of Trey Reed, ruling it a homicide. She is known for ruling black deaths. She is known. Stacey Turner.
Do I look like a witch stirring a cauldron tonight? I don't really see myself that way. Do not stir the pot, Crouppen, because this is not about politics. This is not what somebody did a long time ago in another case. This is about what we are learning tonight. Yes, and my question is, where's the original autopsy? My guess is that they are waiting on the results that Dr. Kilman Crowns just talked about and more. Hey, simmer down. I want to get to the facts. The facts of this case. I want to go back to Brian Trasher on that. Heather, I'm going to get to you in just one moment regarding the tracking of the phone and the Snapchat and all the digital footprint. But to you, Brian, again, let me pull it back up. We are not showing this photo. Do not show it, control room. Brian, again, United Cajun Navy searched for and spotted Nolan's body. Tell me what was seen. Let's see some of that aerial video.
Yeah, so we were flying over the northwest tip of Horn Island after about 2 hours in the air, canvassing a pretty large area, when we noticed some law enforcement boats converging to the northwest tip. We descended, circled around, and saw a number of law enforcement personnel on the beach, and then you could see a body laying at the shoreline. Of course, using a zoom lens to go in, we could see that the body matched the description of Nolan Wells. The whole thing about Ben Crump mentioning that we told the parents he was fully clothed, that's not true. We never told the parents that. He was wearing just the swim trunks that matched the description that in the missing persons report, and it matched the photos that were taken of him that day, and that was all he was presumed. That's all he was wearing.
Brian, I want to show some video. Oh, there it is. I hope you can see your monitor. Yeah. That is from our friends over at TMZ. It's a video that I believe is Nolan Wells. And I can tell you from looking at the aerial photo, I've zoomed in on it, those appear to be the same pants that he was wearing when his body was found. His body looks like it just washed up on shore.
Right.
Now,
that's correct.
Regarding COD, yeah, when you look at it way up, it looks like he's wearing a shirt. But when you zoom in, you see he's not wearing a shirt, nor is he wearing shoes. Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. If you are a homeowner, you've probably thought, should I call American Financing to refinance and pay off this debt? But you don't because of your low mortgage rate. That low rate, it's not saving you if you're drowning in credit card interest. People are calling American Financing, and American Financing is saving customers an average of $800. That's not in all, that's a month, by using their equity to pay off the credit card debt. Using their home equity to pay off credit card debt. No upfront fees. It costs you nothing to find out what you could be saving. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. American Financing, 866-888-0344. Repeat, 866-888-0344. Or just go online to americanfinancing.net/Nancy. Disclaimer, NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. APR for rates in the 5S start at 6.327% for well-qualified borrowers. Call 866-888-0344 for details about credit costs and terms. Go to http:// www.americanfinancing.net/Nancy. Average savings are based on borrowers who save over $199.99. And good luck. Isn't it true, Dr. Kendall Crowns, medical examiner, lecturer, star of Mayhem in the Morgue, so much more. Dr. Kendall Crowns, isn't it true that in certain cases, and I learned this on an arson case, COD, cause of death, manner of death, as well, MOD, can also be determined at times based on what we call extrinsic evidence. For instance, in the arson case I'm talking about, the evidence that the perp checked the weather station, the weather report for the day the arson went down, killed his wife, that he moved out all of his nice suits and family photos of his family, not his wife's family, all of his important tax documents, everything out of the house the day before the arson in which his wife was killed. Also, he called his insurance company and asked, hey, if I have a fire in my home, will you cover rental furniture? And then his house burned down the next day. The medical examiner looked at that evidence as well when determining MOD had been homicide. Isn't it true, my question, that a medical examiner will look at extrinsic evidence as well as what they see on the body itself?
Yes, all evidence is considered in an autopsy. You can't autopsy in a vacuum with no investigative information, no toxicologic findings. All you have is autopsy findings. You can make mistakes in not coming to the right conclusions about cause of death and really manner of death. So those findings are important. And in the case you used, it's evidence that he had a plan, that he was taking actions to eliminate his wife, light his house on fire. That would play in the role into it. As far as arson, the arson investigation would be helpful. All that would be given to the medical examiner because the autopsy would show the individual died in a fire. And that's all the information I would be able to tell you. Without that investigative information, I wouldn't be able to tell you whether it was a homicide, suicide, accident, not natural, of course, because it's a fire. But again, investigative information is very important. And that is also probably why the Mississippi medical examiner is still taking their time. And even the DC medical examiner said more investigative information
Dr.
is
Kendall
needed.
Crowns, again,
Both of them
you're
are
the
saying
expert,
that.
not me. But let me just cut you off right there because the answer to that was yes, you do consider extrinsic evidence. That said, listen to this.
I don't think that Nolan would say, hey, bro, I'm staying with this girl on the island. Y'all go ahead and go back. Like, not even asking to get his phone back. You know what I mean? I've never known Nolan to stay back while his friends leave. He's always been a guy where if he rode with you, he's going to come back with you. That's always how he's been every single time.
For Christine, it said one place, but for them on Snapchat, it showed another place. So that's the place we went to. And it showed that everybody that was in the house, it was like a lot of people there. So that's how we knew where to go to. We went there. They were all there. They were sitting there, lights off, watching TV. They did. They gave me the phone, but it took about 15 minutes to get the phone because I even asked, I'm like, did y'all have to walk back to Horn Island to get the phone? Or like, where's the phone? Because it took so long when they said it was when Wyatt told me it was in his truck. It took him so long to get the phone back to me.
You are seeing friends of the Wells' family speaking on Laura Coates Live. Okay, I want to talk about the phone issue. And again, I don't want Nolan to be dead at all. I want this to be an accidental death. But I am not turning a blind eye to concerning aspects of this investigation. In the end, it may turn out to be accidental. But why would you leave Nolan there? Why would you say your boat was sinking and then take multiple more trips in the boat that night, according to reports? So many of the facts are not lining up. But first, let's start with a digital footprint. To Dave Mack, joining us, Crime Stories investigative reporter. What are they saying about the phone?
Well, the family says that when they were able to finally retrieve the phone, okay, they get there to get the phone back and have to wait 15 minutes outside while the young people who had the phone for some reason took their time getting it to them. And when they got
I don't see that as a problem.
No, well,
I don't see that as a problem.
That
they're teen boys. They got to go outside and they've got to get the phone out of the truck. What I see as the problem is the phone is there and he's somewhere else. Who leaves their phone behind? Who leaves their phone behind when they're on a desert island, stranded on an island? Why would you go without your phone? That's what sparked my interest, Dave Mack.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood where you were headed with it, but here's the catcher is that Nolan was always taking pictures, Nancy. And so the part about this that really gets home is that he always had his phone to take pictures and was always uploading. He was very active in those pictures being published online. And when the family actually got his phone, it had been cleaned. There was no Instagram or Snapchat that had been removed. It was gone.
Well, wait, hold on. Let me understand something, Dave Mack. You say there was no Snapchat, no Insta. It was gone. You mean it was all gone or just gone for that day?
Just for that day, Nancy. They suspect that based on that other messages or media may have also been deleted.
Okay. All right. That's all I want to hear right now, Dave Mack. I'm going to an expert that knows more than me and you put together, Dave. Heather Barnhart is with us, digital forensics expert with Celebrite and the SANS Institute, one of the digital forensic investigators in the Koberger case that cracked that wide open. She is co-author of Practical Mobile Forensics in its 4th edition, which means a lot of people are using it to teach and reading it. Her blog, smarterforensics.com. I could go on. Heather Barnhart, thank you for being with us tonight. Number one, can you look at a phone and determine if items were deleted?
Absolutely. And Nancy, here's a huge thing to think about. I assume his phone had a password. There are certain things that you need the password to do, such as delete activity. But if you don't have a password and you pick up your phone, if you're touching the screen, that leaves a trace. If you're trying to power it off, that leaves a trace. So we should be able to see people without a password trying to actively interact with that phone as well as someone that has it.
So how can you look at a phone, Heather Barnhart, and determine the difference between no photos were taken that day? Also, can you take photos even if you don't have reception? I think you can, but I'm not an expert. How can you look at a phone and determine no photos were taken that day as opposed to items were deleted? Because can't you delete from the deleted file?
Yes, you can do everything you just talked about. But again, all of that leaves a trace. So we would do a forensic acquisition, and that's really important here. Someone just looking in the phone, you can get a glimpse, but you can't see what's deleted and hiding below the surface. We need a forensic acquisition to do that. We can tell if it was just soft deleted, so like sitting in a trash can, or a hard delete. So if you empty your trash on your phone and then you go and throw it into a dumpster and the trash is taken away, there is a log that tracks everything. Also with timestamps on when that activity occurred.
Okay, I need that broken down in regular people talk. We're not all experts. Could you say that so everybody can understand?
Yeah. So let's say Nolan had an iPhone. He could take pictures without cell service at all. Cell service and Wi-Fi do not matter. He could even post them to Instagram or to Snapchat, and they'll sit in a temporary directory until he has service. Sometimes that fails, but we still see that activity when we do forensics. If you delete a picture, Nancy, it sits in a recycle bin on your iPhone, and you can recover that for about 30 to 40 days as a normal user. If you empty that trash, it's not recoverable, but we doing forensics can still find it.
Okay, so you mean it's not recoverable for me, a layperson, but you can recover it. Even the pictures, even the content of the text or snaps, you can recover that?
If you get a full file system acquisition, and I realize that's really nerdy, but this is where acquisition and time to evidence matters. Deleted data exists and sits there for a period of time. So time to evidence is everything here.
How long will it sit there?
If it's an iPhone, it's a little bit different than Android. iPhone, Apple's more forgiving and you have about 30 days. With Android, you could have just a few days until location artifacts are purged.
You mean, okay, a few days, do you mean 1 day, 2 days, 10 days?
It could be between 1 and 7 on Android. But with iPhone, it's typically about 7 to 30 days.
7 we're safe. 1 we're not safe. Okay. And what I'm referring to is if he did have an Android, can I recover if there were photos, snaps, texts deleted? That's what I'm trying to find out, because if somebody's deleting texts and emails and snaps and pictures, I got a problem. Why delete? That is my problem. Now, here's my next question. I'm sure I'm going to say it very inarticulately, but I think you'll know what I mean. Even if you cannot recover, let's pretend it was an Android. Even if you cannot recover the actual item itself, can you see a log that says something was deleted?
Yes, but it depends on the activity. So Snapchat will be tracked differently than a regular photo versus a regular text message. But deep dive forensics will recover the truth. And you mentioned Brian Koberger. There was nothing. All that data was cleaned up and deleted, but the lack of data and the time on when it was removed was huge in that investigation. And that could be huge on proving the last time Nolan actually used his device versus people taking steps with it and walking around with it when it was out of his possession.
Okay. Number 1, you're brilliant. Number 2, regarding Snap being in one place, Life 360 being in another place, what can you tell me about that?
Think of each application as having its own folder or a container. So all the things you do in that application exist in that container. A full deletion would be throwing that container away. So nothing's there. Sporadic deletion would be removing one thing at a time or deleting a most recent story or a post. And that stands out drastically to forensic examiners because it's uncommon behavior based upon what Nolan would typically do on his device.
Straight out to Sam Crouppen joining us, investigative journalist, star of Simpson's World. You have thoughts on the phone?
Yeah, Nancy, here's the thing. Everybody keeps saying that you keep your phone on the boat when you go into the water. We can all agree that makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is when his friends leave him, he's not going to not get his phone to take with him. Who in their right mind would get stuck on an island without their phone? It makes zero sense to me at all. And then also the fact that all of his friends deleted all their social media accounts. They haven't spoken to anybody. As far as I know, they didn't even go to the funeral. It makes people believe that they are hiding something.
You're on cross-examination. Who is our next sponsor? Well, here is a probative clue. Meow. Smalls makes fresh human-grade food designed for cats to thrive, while Big Pet Food uses cheap filler Smalls features 80% animal protein and zero artificial junk. 88% of cat parents report better digestion, softer fur, and more energy for their cats to play. It's a healthy investment your cat will love. If you want to invest in your cat's health, Smalls is giving you 60% off your cat's first order. 60% off plus free shipping and free treats for life when you go to smalls.com/Nancy, SMALLS, smalls.com/Nancy. 60% off your first order, free shipping, and free treats for life when you head to smalls.com/Nancy. Thanks, Smalls, and thank you from our cat, Cinnamon. Back to probative evidence. He's got a point. Crouppen has a point. I could see being out in the water without your phone, but it would be over my cold, dead body that I would let a boat leave with my phone and my keys and my everything. Okay, listen to this.
He said, "Hey, Miss Christine, have you seen Nolan or talked to Nolan?" I said, "No, I thought he was with you guys, you know." He's like, "No, nobody's talked to him. We left the island at, I think he said 3 p.m. and he wanted to stay because he was talking to a girl named Katie. Katie is also missing. No one can find her." And the explanation of no one knows this Katie, like we've never met her type of deal.
How would they know Katie's missing if they didn't even know who Katie was? So then Katie's sister chimed in. Katie made it home because she was on another boat and with different people. Katie assumed the friends telling him to get on the boat wouldn't have left him. So the question is, where was Nolan after the interaction of Katie? Did Katie see him get on that boat?
From our friends at NBC and the real TikTok detective there at the end who said it so eloquently, more questions spinning out because of the phone. Why was it on the boat? Why did he let the boat leave without it? And speaking of the boat, listen to this.
So first, at 9:56 a.m., the boat leaves the original dock. It arrives at Horn Island at 11:14. So at around 4 o'clock, there is a call to the Coast Guard about the boat. NBC News got a hold of it.
"We're sinking. Can you all please come?"
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Everybody's on board. So does that mean Nolan is on there? Who was on that boat?
Okay, there are innocent explanations for that, and there are nefarious explanations for that. But I do know this. They stated the boat was sinking. But was it?
At 4:31, the boat leaves Horn Island and it is towed approximately 3 miles, and then the tow ends. So after 3 miles, they go back to the original dock, okay? They arrive at 5:44 p.m. So it looks like this is where Horn Island is, and this is where the original dock is that I am referring to. I looked it up, and El Camino Real Road is in Gulf Hills, Mississippi, which is right above Ocean Springs. So I'm wondering if this is the house where they got the phone. The boat travels to Fort Bayou. At 6:06, the boat returns to the original dock. Then, from the original dock, the boat goes back to Fort Bayou, and then they go to the boat launch, and it is put onto the trailer and moved by the vehicle. Did they drop people off at the original dock, travel to Fort Bayou, pick somebody up, and go back to that original dock? And then from there, why was there an hour and 13-minute time gap? This boat was sinking hours before, and then they're just having it docked for an hour and 13 minutes. You would think they'd want to get that boat out of the water ASAP.
From the real TikTok detective, and she's got a point. Does nobody have a problem with that? The boat is sinking when they call for help, and then they take the boat around for hours that night. Okay, Mobley, you don't have a problem with that?
I would want to know the nature of the malfunction of the boat and whether or not it was repaired. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Explain, please.
I mean, it's not complicated. I mean, what it comes down to is what was the nature of the complication of the boat and was it repaired? And if it was repaired properly, then I don't see any issue with it. And I want to be clear, those are legitimate questions. But again, as I alluded to earlier, when you start taking bits and pieces of the puzzle and you start putting them out there without context, that's when you start spreading misinformation. I would assume.
Well, you're right. But I certainly do not believe that this investigation needs to be shut down because there are potential innocent explanations. You don't just end an investigation because it could all be explained away. And I'm not saying his friends are responsible or not responsible because I don't know. Is it true, Kruppen, that many of the people there that day have lawyered up and they're not talking? Is that true? Or have they, unbeknownst to me, have they cooperated and spoken to authorities?
I mean, from what we've seen, that was what happened. They all deleted their social media accounts right away. They lawyered up. So it seems as though they've been advised. And here's a big question for me, Nancy. Was the company that allegedly got the call that they were in distress, and their official statement was before assistance was rendered, the vessel owner advised that sea tow was no longer needed because help had already been obtained. Sea tow's involvement concluded at that point.
Sea tow, everybody, is two words, SEATOW. They come and render aid and haul in, tug in boats, ships that need help. Okay, hold on. Heather Barnhart with me, digital forensics expert, author, co-author of Practical Mobile Forensics 4th edition. What about GPS? What can I learn from the GPS on that boat? Because I want to know.
If his phone is on the boat, it is tracking every location that the boat went to. I would also be curious on the last time the phone was unlocked, the last steps, even if it's not unlocked, the last steps will be tracked, and last general usage. Because we may be able to say the last time that Nolan was on his device and physically using it, which would be really helpful in this investigation.
Straight out to Brian Trasher joining us, Vice President, United Cajun Navy, who participated in the search for Nolan. A couple of questions. What can you tell me about GPS on boats, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, they operate just like any other kind of GPS. They get fed from satellites, and they keep archives of logs and trips and things like that. A couple of things I want to point out there, Nancy, because I'm probably the only person on the panel that's been to Horn Island. They said, going back to the phone and possible deleted messages and all that, when his mother at first said she thought that messages had been deleted, she later clarified that what she was talking about, she thought it was odd that Nolan had not done any Snapchats, which was his favorite app, presumably. So the reason why he didn't do any Snapchats because he didn't have a signal. It's very hard to get a cell phone signal on Horn Island, and Snapchat doesn't upload if you don't have a signal. What I told him was to check his camera roll. If he wasn't able to upload on his app, maybe he just took pictures with his regular camera and saved it to his camera roll, see if there's any pictures on there. But there's no evidence to suggest that anybody went in and deleted any text messages or anything like that that day. So I just we've been fighting so much information out there, just don't want to help spread it by not addressing that.
Brian Trasher, you and I go back a long way with your involvement with United Cajun Navy. I only have one question for you. Are you a digital forensics expert?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
No further questions. Thank you. Brian Trasher, let me talk about something that you do know about, which includes boat GPS. What exactly, last time for tonight, what exactly was seen when Nolan's body was found? Every detail.
Okay, so the body was right at the shoreline, right where the water meets the sand. It was laying face down. And like I said earlier, the swim trunks that were described and photographed, that he was photographed in the day he died, or the day he presumably died, where he was still wearing, did not appear to be wearing shoes or a shirt. And yeah, face down, and there were law enforcement kind of standing all around him, just whatever they were doing, their jobs, I'm sure. But that is what I saw from the air.
I'm looking at it. Let's see, he's face down. His left foot is on top of what looks to be some kelp that has washed ashore. He looks almost as if he's sleeping. He is face down. He's wearing, at first it appeared to be a shirt. He's not wearing a shirt upon zooming in on it. He's barefoot. I don't see anything on his wrists or arms, such as, a watch. I don't see that. It looks to me like he's sleeping on his stomach with his right leg a little bent outward and his left leg outward as well, like he's asleep on a mattress. His left arm is out and down like he's a stomach sleeper. And it looks to me like his head is turned to one way into the sand. Now, given that position, I see no way that blood could have pooled in the back of his neck. He is absolutely face down. But that is another argument for Dr. Kendall Crowns and myself for another night. This is what we know tonight. What we are learning from the second and independent autopsy is we know nothing, but Crump did hit the nail on the head as it relates to this. The critical moment is when and how Nolan Wells entered the water.
At the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolan Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolan Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death.
How did Nolan Wells end up in the water? How is there so much confusion about who was with him last? Why can't I identify how everybody in that crowded area on Horn Island left, and what left him there standing, waving his arms, don't leave? It's not making sense, and we are not resting until it does make sense. Listen.
Amen, Auntie.
He had a deep love for the Lord and an unwavering faith that was evident in the way he lived his life. As much as our hearts are broken, we find peace in knowing that our son is resting in the arms of the Lord.
Hi guys, Nancy Grace here. Please join us on Crime Stories and stream it first on Fox 1. When breaking crime news develops, we investigate it and bring it to you. Bombshell updates, answers to unanswered questions from cases making the headlines and cases you may never have heard of until Crime Stories. We go inside investigations with exclusive interviews, crime victims, families seeking justice, investigators, experts, and sources from within the case itself. Stay on top of the nation's biggest trials with us, including gavel-to-gavel coverage with real-time analysis. Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Stream it first on Fox 1. I hope to see you there, and thank you, friend. If you know or think you know anything regarding the death of this young star athlete, Nolan Wells, dial 228-769-3063. 228-769-3063. We remember American hero Officer Adam Ashworth, St. George PD, Utah.
Okay, guys, that's it. What do you all think of what we just learned? What do you all think, man? We learned a lot, right? We actually learned a lot earlier when we, watched the press conference. A lot of people make fun of the way that Ben Crump did the delivery of the autopsy results. But let's remember that he is an attorney and he's not a medical doctor. And I can't talk, right? 333-333 in the building. That is my number. I can't talk because I also bear a speech impediment, but I'm the realist on this. I'm the realist. But I want to explain to the people that are new here who I am. I'm Auntie Leah, and that's what the internet calls me. My channel is Kicking It with Auntie Leah, but we are the Truth Gang. We fight for truth, and we don't care what color you are. Mainly, injustices are dealt to people that look like me. Well, a little darker, I'm a little lighter than some Caucasian, but I'm 100% black when it comes to birth certificates and things of that nature. But of course, by my complexion, slave master did dip somewhere in the slaves when it comes to my background, right? But I just want to say thank you for everybody that's here. We got Jag Nation in the building, and I'm so happy that you guys decided to come and be with me tonight. Normally I'm alone sometimes because Jag is doing her own thing. If you guys know what Jag Nation is, if you don't know, I'll explain it. It's Jaguar Right. Yes, the Jaguar Right. And she is a truth teller. She exposes the industry, and she also dips in injustices, and she also dips in crime. See, there's my speech impediment. So my channel is a branch, a baby, off of her main channel, which is the Jaguar Right Effect. Shout out to Jaguar Right. Shout out to her producer, Odell, Set in the West. I've also put his link in the chat as well. So let's talk about it. What do you all think? Because I think it's some diabolical stuff going on, right? Let's see. Greetings. Thank you so much for being here. Is it Sherazat? And guys, you don't have to send a super chat for me to read your comment. On this channel, we do read your comments. Now, if the Lord puts on your heart to bless the channel, we really do greatly appreciate you, but it is not required. Meaning, just because you're not a member and just because you don't send a super chat or a gift doesn't mean that you mean any less to us than people that do. Shout out to Set No West who's in the building. Listen, Odell. Set says Nancy is full of crap. Look, you know what? We would love to hear your input. Can I please drop the link? Because I'm just a baby truth teller. It's you and Jag that are the truth tellers. We, Jag Nation, which that's me, and a lot of us that's in the chat, we're still learning under you guys, right? So I would love for you guys to come up and give us a little insight and give us the real on what's going on, because I think what's going on is diabolical. I mean, you were holding the throat and the neck from the pathologist. Are you kidding me? Really? We need that. We need that because that spot on the back of Nolan's head could have been the very spot that broke the bilge pump, which made, or was it really broke? You see, that's why we need some more experience. I'm good at what I do. Don't get me wrong. I can tear some paperwork apart. The truth gang knows that. But since I lack the paperwork, right? I would love for you guys to come up. But if not, it's okay. Let me shout out Grace. Grace, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate you. Because every gift or every like or every super chat or sticker or cash app or PayPal that you bless the channel with, it gives us the means to keep going. It puts us in the algorithm to compete against those that are spreading misinformation. It allows us to continue to put in the FOIA request, because I do have to pay to get files. It gives us the ability to make videos. It gives us the ability to expand our research, right? So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Like I said, I would love for Set in the West to come up if he feels like it, or Jaguar Wright. Oh my God. I'm talking about the Jaguar Wright. Yes, I'm a fan. I ain't even gonna lie. But anyway, I want to bring up a segment of the John Lennon? I think that's his name. He had 2 black pathologists on his show, and that's who I want to really hear. I mean, not the guy that basically was on here and that animal, that certain animal, a raccoon that wasn't telling the truth. But you guys get the grip without me destroying or displaying anything derogatory. You guys get it, right? So let me find, is it Lennon or Lemon? I don't. Give me a minute. Guys, what is his name? Lemon Show. Lennon. But is it Don? I think it's Don. Okay. Let me go ahead and pull up, because they have some very, very interesting things to say. And like I said, it's a lot of content creators, which I'm not really a content creator, and that's why I'm not begging, right? I'm more like, I'm a truth teller, and I'm learning, and I just really want these babies to get justice, because listen, it's a whole list of our young men that are passing away, and I think that it just needs to stop. Okay, so I did find the show. Bear with me. I'm going to share that with. And we're going to get into what these experts had to say, and I'm going to try to find the final timestamp. Let's go.
Toxicology report.
I'm going to turn the music down.
Something that they may want to get ahead of, or it doesn't really provide much to help advance the story of what happened.
Good morning.
To them.
I have to say.
Good morning.
So here is the
everyone
press
can take your
conference.
seat, we'll get started with the press conference in roughly 2 minutes. If everyone can take their seats, we'll get ready to get started in roughly 2 minutes. Thank you.
Conference from today.
Okay. 2 minutes for the press conference, we're told. So we're at the two.
Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen the press conference that Ben Crump did releasing the results of the independent autopsy. Put a 2 in the chat if you have not. Put a 1 in the chat if you have seen it. Put a 2 in the chat if you have not. Put a 3 in the chat if you want to rewatch it prior to us listening to the 2 black people that look like me and us expert opinion of the results. Let me know. And I will skip through the press conference and go straight to their testimony or straight to their analysis, or we can watch it again. I always like to listen to things over and over again, because we can miss pertinent information, right? So just let me know.
2 minute mark, so 9:17 or 8:17 there. So it should be, there'll be about.
Okay, so we have some 3s, we have some 1s, we have some 2s who didn't see it. Late. So if you guys don't mind,
which
can
for
we
us
watch
is
it
unusual,
again?
We're always on time.
Let's watch it again.
When we're not on time, we're usually getting our stuff together for you. Either we have a technical issue or something that we have prepared. The news has changed and it's breaking, and that's the beauty. And I don't know. And some I show with news difference. Good morning, doctor. Good morning, Dr. Frida. I want to know.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I want to know, when they say preliminary, what does that mean? What are we looking at here?
That means on the initial examining of the body, looking at the gross findings, meaning the findings that you can see pretty largely, you're able to make an early determination of what likely causes of death are. However, the final autopsy is not able to be presented until you've done everything, including toxicology, seeing if there are any drugs, looking for evidence on the most microscopic of levels. Sometimes testing will take weeks or months before you can give the final. And so you'll note that when Lindsey Graham passed away, they gave us a preliminary autopsy report the medical examiner did from DC really quickly, within 24 hours, I believe. And usually within 24, 48 hours, they can give you something preliminary. And when there's something obvious, like with what Lindsey Graham had, an aortic dissection, that huge artery, the largest artery in your body, they're able to say, but still they're going to look at toxicology. And so sometime down the road, we'll get a final result. So we're getting what's preliminary, but what it means is that results could change or new information could add to the evidence to help to really understand the true cause of death in Nolan Wells.
What took so long with this one? Because you said with Lindsey Graham, it was within 24 hours. Why is this one taking so long? And
I can only speculate.
Ahead,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I have another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can only speculate. However, we're getting, from my understanding, the independent autopsy, meaning already the people who had the body first, the Mississippi medical examiners, they've already had weeks, at least since July 6th. And so in a standard situation, they already would have had a preliminary result. And so while I don't know the facts of why it's taking so long, I can only imagine that there's something outside of the medical examiner's control, because very likely early on, they have something preliminary. And so be it political, legal reasons, having something to hide, I don't know. I can only speculate. I can say it's not normal for a preliminary result not to be back after, 2 weeks?
I'm going to stop it right there, because I have literally been arguing with trolls on Facebook in the chat daily, all day, because they just think it's diabolical or unheard of that a preliminary cause of death could have been released the day that the autopsy was completed by Jackson County. You're false information. No, you literally just heard what she said. It is very common, like 95% of the time, for them to release the preliminary cause of death. Now, if you don't know the difference between cause and manner, I'll go ahead and let you know. Cause of death is very easy to determine after the autopsy. That is the reason that person passed away. Manner of death is to determine, was it an accident? Was it a homicide? Was it suicide? And things of that nature. So that's what we're listening to right now. This is what she is explaining. Okay. All right. Let me get back to it.
And as far as I know, the authorities in Mississippi are saying, as they're about to get started here, they're saying that they believe it's accidental, but they have not really released any of their autopsy results. Correct? I have not heard any.
I have not heard any, and I've been checking right up to the minute to popping on here. And it was really something, because you'll recall even that Officer Ledbetter already said that things appeared to be accidental very soon after Nolan's body was found. He said, yeah, from our understanding, he chose to stay on the island without his phone. And so it sounds like they had made, at least some people from the ones who presented, that they had made some conclusions well before having any data whatsoever, which is concerning to make such a statement. It seems accidental before we had any facts of the case or any autopsy. But even in listening to someone who was on a show who's with the Cajun Navy, there was someone, what's his name? Someone who's with them saying that it looked like it could be accidental. I'm hearing that, but I'm waiting to see some evidence to deal in facts.
You mean someone with the Cajun Navy? Is that what you're meaning?
Yes,
or someone?
yes, and he was actually on Nancy Grace a day ago. Yeah.
I know you're talking. We interviewed one person. And there's another person who's with the Cajun Navy as well. Look, I think the family has said all along, and we've said as well, whatever it is what it is, but the family deserves transparency. And I think the American people deserve to hear from the public servant and everyone in the Cajun
Navy saying that, we don't know, it seems like it's accidental. It's not uncommon for people to go on the island with one group and then leave one another. He's like, that's not uncommon. But of course, he got pushed back saying, but is it uncommon to leave your phone away from you? So I just
that is uncommon. Yeah, so many unanswered questions. Hey, Andy, if you can put up the freeze version of that photo as we wait. And I know, look, doctor, you deal with this. I deal with this. I was a lifeguard. I have a very healthy respect for water. I love the water, but I have a very healthy respect for water. I do not like to be intoxicated or even tipsy when I'm on the water. And if you look at that photograph there, right, or this freeze frame, just let it stay there. I don't like these situations.
Right.
And I'm out on the water. I've been on boats since I was a kid. I have a boat. I just, maybe if there's a friend group and maybe we have tie up, our two boats together. But when you get past like two boats and you get past like 6, 7 people, I'm like, this is too many people to keep an eye on. And, the drink.
While we are waiting, look at the water level. I want to bring your attention to the water level. So you mean to tell me, because a lot of trolls are saying, well, you have to swim to the island, right? He couldn't take his phone, right? It's normal for kids or people to leave their phone on the boat. But look at the water level, right? Wouldn't he have carried his phone like this to the land, to dry land? I would think so. If this kid really and truly decided to remain on a remote island, which we know that we don't do that. We run from danger, right? We don't go towards danger. Wouldn't you think that if they're holding up beer cans, as we see, that he can hold up his phone? Yeah, we're not buying that either.
Drinking or whatever, because in an instant on the water, things can turn tragic.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you see drownings all the time in your profession.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we know that young Black people are disproportionately affected by drowning deaths, but even adults. And
I wonder why.
Certainly that adults are drinking while they're on the water. And so once you get a group of kids, essentially, even if they're young adults, if they're less than 25, their frontal lobes haven't developed. Their decision-making, their risk, their impulse control is going to be down. And so there's so many factors that could have happened. And, and as Nolan's parents have said, they just want the truth. They
say that nobody.
Yeah.
If you want to know sides, because we talking recently, and I forgot to mention, and they're about to announce Ben Crump. And there you see Derek Johnson, who is the president of the NAACP, standing with the glasses on.
Good morning.
You see the mom, Christine.
My name is Sharon Williams, Senior Vice President of Marketing Communications with the NAACP. We are here because a demand was made. A demand for transparency, a demand for answers, and a demand for ultimate justice on behalf of Nolan Wells. And that demand must be honored.
Amen.
For that, we are honored to pause even for a moment to respond accordingly here at our national convention. Momentarily, you will hear from renowned civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who will provide updates on the findings of the independent autopsy that was conducted in the death of Nolan Wells. Immediately following that, we will take questions from credentialed media. We'll attempt to answer as many questions as we can. However, we want to be respectful of the fact that we do have additional programming that is going on to conclude our convention today as well. So we're asking that all press and media, if you're asking questions, please be concise, give your name, give your media credential, and we'll go from there. But before he comes, we will have the leader of the NAACP, President Derek Johnson, to give opening remarks. President Johnson.
Good morning. Good morning. Far too often our young people are confronted with challenges, and many jurisdictions and states don't take those challenges serious. We cannot allow another individual, particularly a young Black man's death, go uninvestigated. We have seen this happen over the years, not only in Mississippi, but across the country. It is unfortunate that our young people only seek to enjoy life, and as a result of participating in activities no longer have life. For the NAACP, we take this and many other cases serious because every person matters. I want to thank the Mississippi State Conference, particularly Alitra Perryman, for working with the family and supporting the family on the onset. Because it's difficult to lose a loved one, it's even more difficult to navigate a process when all eyes are on you. And the pressure of balancing between grieving and navigating is upon you. And so for the NAACP family, this is our role, is to step in, to support when the families have an issue like this and the local officials seem not to hold people accountable. It's unfortunate when you see news reports and law enforcement officials are repeating what individuals are saying as opposed to investigate the individuals who gave you the information, because you don't know who was involved or not involved.
Amen.
And so narrative matters in this case. And we're saying that in Nolan Wells' situation, the narrative should not be it was an accident before there was an investigation. The narrative should not be the words of individuals who went on a boat to the island with him, but they came without him, but with his cell phone, and you don't investigate those individuals. We're not accusing anyone of anything other than the state of Mississippi and local officials. We're accusing them of being derelict in their duties. To follow up and to ensure that regardless of what happened, that there was a proper investigation so that this family and that community could be assured that if anyone was involved, they would be held accountable. And if it was truly an accident, that the families will have the necessary answers that any family deserves in this situation. I want to bring to the podium Attorney Benjamin Crump, a friend of mine who have stepped in to take the case and in support of the family to ensure that they get the answers that they deserve and that local officials and anyone involved will be held accountable to this family, to that system, because we are all parents, siblings, to loved ones who should not be confronted with this reality. Attorney Crump.
Thank you very much, President Derrick Johnson, for your leadership, for the leadership of the Mississippi Conference of NAACP, and being there during the homegoing services to help the family go through what no parents want to go through. Thank you to Chairman Leon Russell, my longtime mentor from Florida, who helped raise so many of us. Thank you for always being there, Chairman Russell. As President Johnson said, I'm Attorney Ben Crump, representing the family of Nolan Wells, but it's not just me, it is a team effort of incredible, dedicated lawyers and investigators and paralegals. Attorney Lisa Park, attorney who you'll hear from in a few minutes, Attorney Eric Hertz, Attorney Gary Buchan, Attorney Camila Moore, Cliff Jones, Jared Presson, Alan Williams, our whole team of people who are committed, as I said, President Johnson, on this ferocious search for the truth of what really happened to Nolan Wells. But before we begin to discuss the intricacies of the preliminary findings of the independent autopsy, we think it would be appropriate for you all to hear from the people who knew Nolan Wells best, so they can thank you themselves and tell you about the trials and tribulations that they have been enduring since July 4th. July 4th will never be the same for them. I bring to the podium Nolan Wells' mother and father, Christine and Elmore. Please give them a warm NAACP welcome.
First of all, I want to say thank you all so much. Thank you to President Johnson as well as Chairman Russell. This has been a difficult journey. Losing a child, it truly breaks your heart. It is a pain that is just, you can't measure it. Especially someone like Nolan, who brought so much joy and light and life to everyone. You don't find too many genuine people like him. So to lose that light at such a young age under these circumstances has been absolutely difficult, which is why we've gone this route. There's so many people out in the public asking all of these questions, but the only question that we have is what happened to our son. That is the only question. We have consistently been degraded by the public. There's been questions about our parenting, our GoFundMe, this, that, and other. I've been called a racist. I am a healthcare provider, and I take my job very seriously. I love everyone. And it's been difficult for us, but we are leaning into our faith, leaning into one another, also leaning into all of you. There are not enough thank yous, not enough appreciation for what you guys have done for us. And we do. We love you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. And so it is our hope that our local authorities will do what they need to do, because us having the preliminary autopsy results and hearing nothing from them, it's heartbreaking and it's concerning, which again is why we are here, why we have asked for this help. So again, thank you all so much for your support. We appreciate you, we really do.
Every day I wake up, it's a new challenge. Knowing that a part of me I will never talk to, I will never hold, I will never play around with or get mad at, it's not here anymore. Nolan brought a lot of joy to our family. He was the wittiest one out of everyone. The clown. He loved to put in the work because he wanted to be the best. He wanted to make me and his mother proud, and we were so proud of him just for being the person that he was. He was loving. All his teachers knew him, but loved him. He walks in the room, his aura, you are automatically drawn to it. Never met an enemy. And if they were, they would eventually be friends, because they would eventually bond, and it's gonna be hard. He should be at football practice right now.
Yeah.
Calling me after practice, Dad, I made this play, or I made that play, or I get a text with 3 or 4 videos of him doing this, running this route, making this block. And what you think I should do? and I will give my honest, because I always tell them, if anyone is going to be totally honest with you, it's going to be me. And it's not because I'm being mean, but people outside of your family are going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to know to make you better. It's going to be hard for our family from here on out. And like I said, every day is a challenge. We're going to miss our son. And like my wife said, we just want honesty. We want to know what happened to our son, because the things that you're telling us, that's not the character of our son. We know our son. I understand, our children would do things that, that would kind of dumbfound us sometimes, but the things that we're being told, that wasn't Nolan. So please keep us in your prayers, keep him in your prayers. And we're gonna keep pushing and fighting until we find answers. Thank you guys for your love and support.
Thank you so much, Christine and Nolan. Christine and Elmore, Nolan's mother and father. Before we start to go over the preliminary findings from the independent autopsy, we will hear from Attorney Lisa Park to tell you about who was the forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsy. Attorney Lisa Park.
Thank you. Dr. Roger Mitchell could not join us today, but we felt it important before we reveal and unfold this report that you understand who conducted this autopsy. Dr. Roger Mitchell is a physician and board-certified forensic pathologist with 2 decades of experience. He currently serves as the president of the National Medical Association, which is the oldest and largest group of Black physicians in the U.S. Most recently, he also served as president of Howard University Hospital, chief medical officer of the Howard University Faculty Practice Plan, and chair of the Department of Pathology. Before joining Howard, he served as chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. from 2014 to 2021, and is later as interim deputy mayor for the Public Safety and Justice. Dr. Mitchell has conducted and managed thousands of autopsies and is nationally recognized for his work at the intersection of medicine, public health, and justice. And for this case, we sought out the very best, and we are proud to be working with the very best.
Thank you, Attorney Park. I again want to express our gratitude to President Johnson, Chairman Russell, and the NAACP, because civil rights is more important than ever in the United States of America today. And so we thank you for the civil rights leaders stepping up to say that our children's lives matter now more than ever. And I want to thank all of you for getting up 8 in the morning. If people could see how many people are gathered here, they would say, you all are truly blessed to have the support of America, Christine and Elmore. And I want to thank the media for covering this matter, because they don't always cover when our children are taken away from us in highly unquestionable ways. And I do understand there's a lot of news going on in America today. I woke up to them saying LeBron James is going to announce where he's going to play basketball next year. But I'm very happy that the media said this story is just as important. And I'm sure LeBron James and Rich Paul and, Stephon Curry and Draymond Green, Jaylen Brown, Embiid, Maxey, Giannis, Bam, and many other players in the National Basketball Association will all agree that our children's lives are far more important than where LeBron or any other player will play next year. And so that's why I thank you all for being here, because this news is as important as any news in the United States of America, finding out why is Nolan Wells dead. And I want to thank you all who have called the call center. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton. I want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry. I want to thank Mr. Terry Owens for putting up the $125,000 reward for anybody out there who have information so we can get to the truth of what happened. I mean, any videos, and we've gotten so many videos, President Johnson, from that day from young people, and we want them to have the courage to come forward with the pictures, what you heard. I know people say there were a lot of disturbances out there. Some believe it involved Nolan. All of those things are important to get to the truth of what happened. The fact, Christine, that the United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. So at what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400 people. Somebody knows something. So, Scott X, we're trying to just make sure people understand that you can call the Nolan Wells tip line at bencrump.com. We will gladly listen to you, take any information as we try to put together this puzzle of what happened to Nolan Wells. And today, we're gonna add some more parts to this puzzle because my legal team and I, we stand for truth, no matter who it implicates or who it exonerates. We stand for justice, no matter who it convicts or it acquits. And we stand for transparency, because we got eyes that can see, and we don't need government officials having to narrate it for you and me. We can see it for ourselves. Transparency. That leads to the truth. The truth is the foundation for accountability and justice. And that's all we're seeking, as Christina Elmore said from day one. So with that, and Christina Elmore, if you all want to sit, we're about to go through this autopsy. And I know it may be a little emotional. Thank you, Brett. You're welcome to stay right here. You got the pointer? Let's go through this. How does the pointer work? Okay, let me do that right now. How does this work? As we begin to present the preliminary findings of the autopsy, we want to especially thank Mr. Colin Kaepernick for not thinking it robbery to pay for the autopsy. Here's the first shot. Let's go with the first one. Put it right on. So, where's the page up? This one is fine. I need the second page. That's the real one. Give me Nolan's picture. Give me Nolan's picture. An autopsy will be provided for the media at press@bencrump.com. And so, Mr. Jones, keep that. I don't need this one. I just need this one here. Pull this closer. So, pull this up here. So, Dr. Roger Mitchell, board certified forensic pathologist, performed a preliminary report on the death of Nolan Xavier Wells. He conducted and presented this report on July 19th, 2026. Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. And we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation. Statement of examination. This forensic pathologist was retained to perform a second autopsy examination on the body of Nolan Xavier Wells. Name of decedent, Nolan Xavier Wells. Age 18 years old, race black, gender male, date of death unknown. Second autopsy date was performed on July 10th, 2026. Preliminary findings, and this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation. He said corona incision of the scalp, brain removal, Y-shaped incision of the anterior torso, and he talked about the organs being removed, as is common, accompanied in the body cavity. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they're dissected and examined. And then they're put back in a bag within inside the body. So when they're buried, their remains will all be with them. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity so the second pathologist could be able to examine the organs as well. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that in just a minute. And then it talks about the additional procedures performed during the second autopsy. And we'll go into the paragraphs on that there because he explains it better in his narrative. So where's the first page of the discussion? Not the diagram yet. You can keep the diagram over there. Move this back, Lisa. So he talks in the preliminary discussion opinion. This forensic pathologist identified several limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we didn't get to see the body when it was first recovered, like the medical examiner working for Mississippi would have seen it.
And I would love to know why.
He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of July. For these reasons, additional dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. These procedures included facial dissection, posterior head and neck dissection, dissection of the ribs, the pelvic, dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nolan Wells is not with us. So he did that there.
Let me respond to a comment, please, to, who was it? It was a very rude comment that says something about if it was a white kid, we wouldn't hear any of this. Sir or ma'am, if it was a white kid, the perpetrators would be locked up already. And we wouldn't have to hear none of this. So please go gaslight somewhere else. Let's get back into it.
And was very straightforward, very open, very open. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And he talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head?
Right.
And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed. He said another limitation, move this back here. Another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body when he got Nolan Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of no.
Now, I need you guys to really pay attention to what he just said. He said the first pathologist felt the need to hold that information back. Guys, forgive me. Forgive me for my eyebrows. I don't got no lashes. I don't got nothing. Forgive me for the way that I look. Auntie will get it together. I'll get it together. Send me a super chat or something. But anyway, the concern was the first pathologist withheld the throat and the neck. Our question, Truth Gang, is why? You know, we got trolls who want us to believe that there's no foul play, simple drowning, but why? Why hold the neck back? Oh, it was more than foul play, guys. And that's why I said don't get discouraged because it says undetermined. Please don't. You got a lot of content creators pushing, oh, this is diabolical, this is a fiasco, whatever, because it's undetermined. No, Undetermined is good. Because why? Why? A simple drowning is not going to make someone want to withhold the neck or hold it back, right? Nah. Let's get back into it.
Nolan Wells, when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered. We have heard from our call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi medical examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolan Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important, and we have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Guys, we got to put pressure on them.
In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report. And we continue to wait for the toxicology to come back because, again, that will be part of the investigation into Nolan Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to note that there's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell would be able to opine upon courtroom. And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury.
And guys, if you don't know, the case is actually, and the evidence is going to be currently in front of a grand jury. So if you are a prayer, or whatever that you do, whatever that you believe, I am going to ask that you please pray for the medical examiner and the jurors in this situation. And I know that someone wants to skip past this to the pathologist testimony on John Lemon's panel, but guys, be patient. We're almost there, okay? We're almost there. There's some people that didn't see this at all, and that's why we are replaying it. Let's get back to it.
Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water, move this back. This is important. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with Nolan Wells, at the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolan Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolan Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death. He said, definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out, and let me really call your attention to this. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he's saying based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed. Number three, was there water in the airway? Remember, he talked about the lungs and the airways, where they fill with water. Number four, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? We got the autopsy without his neck. We got the body without his neck at the time of the second autopsy. Number five, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhaging? He said that is going to be very significant. Things that he could not observe at autopsy that the initial medical examiner would have been able to observe. Number six, was the composition of what was the composition of the stomach contents? He talks about that being important because when was he found? How long had he been in the water? How long had it been since his last meal? All those things become relevant factors when you're trying to do a thorough and impartial autopsy. And number seven, what are the toxicology report findings? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation. This forensic pathologist reserves the right to review and incorporate additional forensic pathology information into his opinion as it becomes available. He says, the above opinions are expressed to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, July 19, 2026. And we know that, as I said, this is only another part of the puzzle. And even though it tells us significant information, we still have more questions than we have answers at this time. And we will continue to press forward and persist, Christine and Elmore, with getting the answers to these questions. Because as you, yes, we will persist, because as Christine and Elmore and Attorney Parker and I talked this morning, conflict is no, that every other what happened, but what we do in the aftermath of them being taken away from us. And just like the NAACP stood up when another tragedy in Mississippi taking the life of young Emmett Till, we will stand up for Nolan Wells. Just like the NAACP and civil rights leaders stood up when another Mississippi son was taken in Medgar Evers. We were asked if Christine and Elmore and President Johnson can come back and join us on the stage, and Trevon, we will have you coordinate questions and answers for us or President Johnson or Attorney Park and I. I will say this, as President Johnson comes to the stage, I was sharing this with him and Chairman Russell, Christine Clark. God knows we wish we had you at the Department of Justice now. Christine Clark. As I was sharing with President Johnson and Reverend Al and others, this is so important that we continue to talk about Nolan Wells and what happened to him, and that we get attention on him, because in getting attention on him, it brings attention, Cliff Jones, to other cases that are not getting their attention as of yet. But I'm so grateful to Christine and Elmore, because they said whatever we can do, not only to help our son, but to help these other young black boys who was killed the July 4th holiday. And I want to take a moment before we answer your questions to talk about two other young black men, both 18 years old, who were killed in extraordinary ways that are very similar to Nolan. President Johnson, 18-year-old Daniel Irvins went on a fishing trip, out on a fishing boat with two other young men. He was the only black. It is alleged that he ended up accidentally drowning, but his two white friends got his cell phone and threw it away, got his clothes and threw it away, and then went and deleted all of their text messages with him and social media. Sounds familiar? And they've only been charged with tampering with evidence. And his mother is crying out that they should be charged with murder, because if they would lie about his cell phone and his clothes and deleted messages, then they will lie about what really happened to Daniel Irvins. And then there's the matter of President Johnson, Christine Clark, of 18-year-old Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith, on 4th of July, was at a house party with about 10 other people. He was the only black person at the house. He somehow ends up shot in the head, dead. Some of the friends get rid of the gun. The police show up. They tell the police it was an accident. It was an accidental shooting, that they were playing Russian roulette. And Tyler Smith ended up getting killed. And apparently, Christine Clark, President Johnson, the police just took their word for it. His mother and grandmother are incensed. They asked the police, did you do a gunshot residue test on his hands? And the reason they said they had to call us, like Daniel Irvins and Nolan Wells family, because the police told them, President Johnson, that there was no need to do gunshot residue on his hands or any of the other people in the house, because I don't understand this logic, but they said if they were playing Russian roulette, then all of them will have gunshot residue on their hands. So we don't need to do gunshot residue tests. It makes no sense whatsoever. So they are taking the word of these 10 people that your son just killed himself. And you don't have to worry about doing any investigation or testing forensically anything. Just take our word for it. Now, can you imagine in any 3 of these scenarios, had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead, what kind of investigation would there have been? What kind of interrogation would there have been? Would they have ever been able to see the light of day until those questions were answered? Well, just like you would do a thorough investigation for your children, we want you to do a thorough investigation for our children. We don't want anything special. We just want equal justice. Equal justice. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Trevon to lead us in the final session.
We have a few questions. We have my colleagues on either side with microphones. Please announce your name and your media outlet if you have any questions. We're going to be quick because
So family, Truth Gang, everybody that is here with us, what do you all think? What do you all think about what they just said and what they just did? Honestly, that's the end of the press conference, and we're going to get back to, and we're going to skip ahead to what the black pathologists, their opinions are. But what do you all think? I think all of this is straight up bullshit. That's what I think. And this is my channel, in my opinion. and I'm free to give it. So let's get back to it. We're going to skip ahead to what the Black pathologist said, and then we're going to end for tonight because we have been here for a few hours, and that's longer than what we normally do. So let's get back to it. And let's go.
We have other programming going on in real time. We'll go here first.
I want to say we're here with Dr.
Summarize if you can.
In the red world, I'm
gonna skip past all of this.
You investigate.
Car,
my apologies. I don't know why.
But when you make statements like that straight out the gate, that's an issue. We did meet with the DA. She did promise, transparency and all of this, all of that. However, damage has already been done because now that's the narrative that's being pushed by the general public, who again, know nothing really, only what they're hearing from other people. So in addition to that, it's all these things coming up. And at the end of the day, like I said before, any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child. And that is what we're here to do.
It is very important to note was an even if so in
I'm sorry.
Justice for Nolan Wells.
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 Justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells.
We're going to have our Religious Affairs Committee join us quickly so we can have a quick word of prayer with the
preliminaries now. Medicine, mind, doctor. Let's talk about stuff, I hear.
All right, let's get into it,
fam. The head and bruising and all of that. What did you make of that? Take us through what you heard. Is there anything concerning? I saw you shaking your head at some points.
Good morning. So many things are concerning. First, I want to say kudos to the medical examiner, Dr. Roger Mitchell. He was brilliant in his presentation, professional. He stuck to the facts. He did not jump to any conclusions. However, he did give explanations and differential diagnoses of what the possibilities were. He was honest about the limitations of his exam, since his was the second autopsy. Okay. He was honest about the limitations, and he was also open about the questions that were left. And so with the initial report, he shared that the cause of death, the manner of death are undetermined. These are the things that stuck out to me, Don and Monique. That lesion on the back of the head. So occipital region, yes, that's in the very back of the head. And there was a red lesion, 12 centimeters by 8 centimeters, I believe. And we don't know the cause, though he did dissect it, Dr. Mitchell did, but it makes you think of the possibilities. Could there have been blunt force trauma? Was this a bruise? Is this just a post-mortem finding, meaning did just, blood and fluid collect there after his death? There are key things he also mentioned there. He said that there was no fracture, but the most important missing information from that red lesion on the back of Nolan's head is that we don't know what the brain showed. Did he have an intracranial hemorrhage? Was there a trauma that caused him to bleed? And was that the cause of death? We don't know. Therefore, it's undetermined. But I do love the way Dr. Mitchell shared what he could determine, what he couldn't determine, because again, he had the second autopsy. Someone had Nolan's body first, the Mississippi medical examiners. The other thing that was of the greatest significance to me, almost jumped out of my seat, because I'll tell you, right before coming on with you, I had a discussion with my father, Dr. Freddie McCray, who's a retired general and peripheral vascular surgeon who has done autopsies, who's been in medicine for decades. And so we were just kind of chit-chatting about autopsies, the way that our father and daughter conversations go. And what I said to him, I said, I'm really curious to see that hyoid bone. And he was like, yeah, I want to see the anterior neck. Anterior means the front of this part. And so he was like, yeah, I want to see what the anterior neck showed so we can see if there's any ligatures. And so we were talking. So that was the main thing I was listening for. Okay. The anterior neck. And so to find that there was an absence of the part of Nolan's body that could have given us some of the most critical information, whether it, said that harm was done or no harm was done. I was looking to see the hyoid bone because had it been displaced, had it been broken, then that could be consistent with some type of a choking or pressure on the neck or an asphyxiation, okay? And then had the hyoid bone been completely intact, that would give us different information, extremely significant information. And I find it highly suspicious that that very critical part of the medical examination is missing. The neck is missing. Also, like I said, I want to see, are there ligature marks? Was there something around his neck? Was there bruising? All of that could have been answered by giving us the information of what's going on with the larynx, the trachea, all of the breathing apparatus in the front of the neck. It's missing. We need answers. This is suspicious. And the lungs. From the very beginning, we had the officer saying, oh yeah, it looks like it was a drowning. It looks like it was a drowning. We should have been able to find the information because had there been a drowning, there would have been evidence of fluid water going into that anterior neck we're missing and going into the lungs, a water-filled lungs. However, had Nolan already been deceased before his body hit the water, that epiglottis, that connection between the throat and the lungs would have been closed and his lungs would not have been filled with water. And so we need to know what the lungs show. And a medical examiner, a pathologist, will be able to tell the difference between, say, drug overdose, which, you hear all kinds of internet sleuths talk about. We would have been able to tell the difference. And, but it's not just, what was found, it's also what was not found. Dr. Mitchell went through and said that he carefully dissected, the buttocks, the legs, the chest, the arms. He was so detailed and he let us know what he did not find. That he did not find any broken bones, no fractured bones, that he did not find any evidence, at least in this postmortem state, of any bruises. And so I appreciate that because it lets us know that this is not some biased gotcha moment. Let me only tell you things that are intriguing to the media. He went through and systematically did what an excellent pathologist will do. He'll tell you all of the findings. And so now we have a bruise in the back of the head. We have a missing neck. We don't know the condition of the lungs. And also we already were at a disadvantage because it was 4th of July or the 6th of July. We're not sure when he passed away, but that the water would have been warm in Mississippi. That would have accelerated decomposure. And so this was an examination done with many limitations, but Dr. Roger Mitchell, the medical examiner, did a superior job with the information that he had in the way that he lined it up. And so that we can all understand the story that's being told and the story that is missing in Nolan Xavier Wells' body.
So do you agree with the inconclusive that was stated today?
I absolutely do. Do. And it also gives you a certain manner of respect for the pathologist because he's not someone who's speculating or jumping to conclusions. He's honest about the limitations. More importantly, he's honest about the findings.
Monique Presley, I want to bring you in. As you're watching this, you're an expert. You have used, obviously, autopsy reports in court. And what is your takeaway from what you heard from Ben Crump today and in this report?
I have used them in court. I have observed them, unfortunately, any number of times. And I want to make sure I agree with the bulk of what Dr. Frieda is saying as our medical expert here on the show today. I just want to be clear that the neck portions that have been held back are not missing. Dr. Mitchell stated that the reason that they likely have not been turned over from the state, that it's normal even in his practice to hold those portions for further examination when they release the remainder of the body to the family so that the family can go forward with their homegoing celebrations, interment, whatever is planned. But the state likely still has those portions. And frankly, the state has not been willing to release its examination because they don't have toxicology report back. And because they have told the public and the family that the investigation, their examination is not yet complete. So what I wish, because
So Monique, just real quick, because I think they said that it was I think he said at the top, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that the findings that he was reading from was from July 19th. So they've had this. I think he said this was done on July 19th. And
the
so, that's been a couple of
autopsy, yeah.
Yeah. So that goes along with what you're saying. I just wanted to back that up because this is the 22nd right now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. And I mean, and I could understand they would, want to do it after the funeral. That makes sense. But for him to not have certain pieces that he needs in order to have a conclusive investigation is because those elements are still under review and under investigation by the state. What I wish, since today was largely inconclusive, we have more questions than we have answers. What I wish is that he was able to have the first autopsy. Lots of times when we end up ordering independent autopsy examinations, it's a different circumstance slightly than this, where there is something that has been ruled out by the initial autopsy, and for whatever reason, it's found to be suspicious, or we need more detail, or we have a recalcitrant examiner's office that isn't giving any more information. It looks like what they did was not enough. And so you have to go to another examiner, get an independent autopsy, if you're able to, if the family is able to, and you get more and you're able to compare. I see a bruise here now. There was not a bruise on the first day, so maybe this happened post-mortem. I don't see skin abrasion here. You have the full neck examination. I have a toxicology report. So the things that Dr. Mitchell was saying, I've interviewed Dr. Mitchell, I've deposed Dr. Mitchell. I have nothing but respect for him. Go Bison. But some of the things that would be asked, right, as he said in his report, is if you are dealing with someone who could swim, you would want to know what condition they were in when they hit the water, whether they were forced into the water or whether they put themselves in the water. So you can't even figure out whether he was swept up by a current or whether he was hit over the head and knocked off a boat. None of those things are real to us right now, Don. None of those are in the land of facts. And so I think what the attorneys wanted to do on behalf of the family is give as much transparency as they could, as soon as they could, but it has not resulted in any answers. So even, for instance, where what could be a subdural hematoma, I've handled medical malpractice cases where patients have died, where it was not even realized that was happening to them until it was too late. And what we would need to know, one of the things Dr. Mitchell says is that the skin shows that there was no external bruising. So we don't have anything right now that would show, for instance, that he was hit in the back of the neck and it made a bruise or right below the head. We don't have anything to support that, nor do we have anything to support that there was injury to the bone there. But we have something that is showing in the tissue for which we don't have an explanation. So I caution today the same way I always do. I heard people in the room who were screaming when it was read in the report that organs were removed, because they just didn't have an understanding that is a natural part, that is a correct part of the process to do an examination, and that the organs were not missing. They were then returned. They were bagged and returned. And all of that is horrible to have to hear for a first time. But it certainly is something that can cause people who are very interested in this case to jump to conclusions. And I'm glad at least that it was explained that the things that were done were things that have to be done in order to get to the answers.
So may I ask this, how long does it usually take for tox reports?
Well, I'll let Dr. Frieda go first.
That can take weeks, it can take months. That's the part that many times most of the media, most people have tuned out, because the preliminary autopsy report most often will give usually it's correct, the very likely diagnosis. So it could be weeks, it could be months. So I don't know. They're going to look at all the different organs, and there are going to be many things that they test for. And so we don't know.
And Dawn, that's why if you think about any kind of famous cases where people are waiting on official cause of death, whether you think of Whitney Houston or Michael Jackson or any person where there was a suspected drug involvement, and I am not saying that that is what is the case here. I am saying when you're waiting to figure out whether it is a rule out or whether it is a determinative factor, many times we find that out a month after the fact, sometimes 2 months after the fact. I can't remember the name of the person from the Friends cast who died, and I think it was like 6 months.
Perry.
Yeah, before there was an official determination. And so what was the name? Perry?
Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry. And so sometimes you're just waiting on a rule out and you have enough from everything else you've seen for a cause of death, but we are in the blind here entirely because we don't have the rest of the state's official autopsy results. And you know, media is media, but if you're going to ask a question, then ask, what have you been told about the official autopsy? Right. You know, I mean, that's the question I thought was going to be in the room, but it wasn't the question in the room.
Have you heard anything about the official autopsy? And if yet, okay.
What do you know? What do you know? What do you know?
What do you know? Yeah.
Because I would have wanted to know, did they share what they found on the anterior neck so far? They don't need toxicology to tell us what the hyoid bone looks like. If the trachea, that windpipe, if that had been damaged, if there were ligature marks, there should be photographs even from the original medical examiner. That is the piece that does not sit well with me.
To the trolls, I told you that you didn't need toxicology to tell you the cause of death. So do me a favor and exit stage left. You do not need toxicology to tell us how he died. You need toxicology to tell us if he was unalived, suicide, or an accident. Miss me with that.
Why don't we know? In a preliminary, they would have observed the gross appearance of the anterior neck. And so I'm anxiously awaiting those answers.
So I wanted you guys, if you can stick around for a little bit, because we're taking phone calls because there are so many people who have questions about this. So we just opened them up. But if you're at that tier of our membership here where you can take a phone call, I would love for the experts to be able to answer some of the questions if you guys are okay with that. Because I had lots of questions listening. I was like, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And by now, even if it is, I know this is a strange question, but even if it is inconclusive, people have experience with these things medically or legally from the information that you have now. What does that say to you? What would that mean in a court of law? What would that mean medically that you haven't seen any of these things? Because you know, you go through a checklist and you go, okay, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, or it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. You can sort of come to a conclusion about where this is going, if you know what I'm talking about. First, the physician. I don't know if that is a dumb question or, you know, if it's one that's pertinent.
If you can kind of see where it's going based on what was presented.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you still can't exactly see where this is going because I also want to just deal with facts. The one thing that we know is that from the very beginning with the Mississippi officials putting it out there, oh, it seems accidental. Oh, he chose to stay on the island. From the very beginning, they lost the objectivity. And so right now, all that I got from the medical examiner's report was that he was doing his best to bring the objectivity and the facts back into the case. And as far as where it's going, it doesn't necessarily seem like he's leaning one way or the other, but he's letting you know what he needs. For example, yes, he told us that it's significant that there was the red lesion in his occipital region, the back of the head, Nolan's head. He didn't say, oh, it's probably blunt force trauma. Ooh, somebody probably punched him. He just said what it was. and he said, Dr. Mitchell, and he said what he needs to rule it out. So for me, he's not trying to lead us. He's not trying to lead us. He said there are no fractures, so we know that he didn't get into an accident or anything that would have broken his ribs. And so for me, I feel like separating myself from the attorneys, but just going with the medicine and the medical examiner, I feel like all he did was present a roadmap and left it for the professionals and for the forensic attorneys and for the detectives. They can take it from there, but he gave us the black and white of what the body said and how the body talks.
Okay, let's bring in Roger Alexander Jr. coming from Clarksville, Tennessee. Good morning, Roger.
Hi, good morning. I mean, there's so many questions that I have about this case. And I have so many mixed feelings and emotions about it because it's really sad and it's
okay with you guys.
My question is,
skip through this.
Does hold this release? I heard that. I think that they're just.
We're giving of the autopsy. That there have been, we have to look at the circumstances, the history of where it happened and what happened. But again, not exactly sure because it's inconclusive. I don't know if there's a cover up. I think that they're being careful about information.
It's a cover up,
especially
Don.
since this story has gained so much national and international attention that they want to make sure that it's accurate. So I think people are holding their cards. I feel like maybe the investigators are holding their cards to see what the independent autopsy, what it reveals, and then vice versa. The independent folks may have been holding out to see what the other folks reveal, but I don't know if it is indeed, a legitimate effort to cover up. Would you guys agree with that? I mean, Monique, usually people don't want to give their cards away, or they don't want to get too far ahead of things before there's a 100% conclusion about what's going on, the toxicology reports, and on and on and on. That's just my assessment as someone who's been covering this for a long time, these types of stories.
Right, and I don't know if we have, I took a screenshot of it, but I don't know if we have the part in Dr. Mitchell's report where he explains, just to what your caller is asking about, he explains what he believes is happening with the portions that he was not provided, with the portions of the throat, not that they are missing, but that he often in his examination holds those back for further review, and that it's very meticulous. It takes a long time. So we don't know yet what the result of that is going to be. And he does explain that in his report. I can't say, people say just in the South, I'm not even going to give the South the only bad reputation here. I don't trust. I think you verify and then trust where investigations are concerned when Black life is involved. And that's in any state, in any city. It is necessary to ensure, because the data shows that our death, that our trauma is not taken as seriously in this country, period. It's not geographical. So that doesn't mean that there's a cover up going on right now in Mississippi. It doesn't mean that there isn't, or that it would be any different if it was in New York or someplace else. We only have the information that's available to us right now. But what I can say to you is that the amount of time that this has taken so far is not, it's not extremely long. Like, this is not an exceeding long time for a suspicious death, for there to be water involved, because that makes it harder to get to results. And I know Dr. Frieda can talk more about that than I can, but a lot of things that would be undisturbed for a medical examiner, they're dealing with the effects of water as they're doing the examination. So that does take a longer time. And that's why you heard even from Dr. Mitchell, inconclusive. He's saying, I see this, but I don't know why this is. I see this, but I can't say the cause. And so, but they didn't even share the pictures with him because their examination is not yet done. And that also is common. I was with the DC Office of the Attorney General. Dr. Mitchell and I did not overlap. I was gone before he came. But I was there for many years, and we would cooperate in investigations, independent autopsies, things like that. But our findings were not released until they were conclusive, until they were final. Even if the final was inconclusive, until we got to that answer, nothing was released.
Stand by. Dr. Frieda, I want to hear from you about the water and the complications, because I think you want to say something about that. But you know what I've forgotten to do this whole show? I've got to get a word in from our sponsors. So we're going to hear from Dr. Frieda and more calls. Give me 1 minute and we're back in just a moment. A word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, here's something that I have learned. Life doesn't ask you if you're ready. It just keeps coming. And sometimes what it brings feels too heavy to carry by yourself. That's one of the reasons that asking for help really matters. It's not weakness. It's one of the healthiest decisions that you can actually make. BetterHelp's 2026 State of Stigma report found that 85% of Americans believe getting support is a wise decision, yet 74% say society still discourages people from doing it. Those two numbers shouldn't both be true. BetterHelp makes take that first step. So if you have been thinking about talking to someone, maybe today is the day. Get 10% off of your first month at betterhelp.com/Don Lemon. That's betterhelp.com/Don Lemon. You ever finish a book and immediately think, I wish more people would read this?
Okay,
Well,
guys.
that's how I felt about Bullies, Parasites, and Slaves.
I do have some
Replacing
folk in the
Exploitation with
comments
Mutual Care
that
by
have
George Cope.
expressed their desire to come up on the panel. I want you guys to understand that you are more than welcome to come up on the panel to express your thoughts and your concerns. You're more than welcome. Let's get into it. We're not going to be on here too much longer. A few more minutes. So I put the link in the comments. And if you want to come up, please come on up. It's not a call-in number. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to show your face. You can come up with your camera off. But if you come up as a troll, either myself or my moderators, which are in blue, will get you out of here straightway. Okay? So we're not going to play. We're not going to play with Nolan. We're not going to play with Kendrick. We're not going to play with Daniel Irving. And we're not going to play with Carmelo. And the list goes on and on. Because our people need justice. I have dropped the link. There's so many more clips that I want to go over. So I'm going to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel. So we can meet tomorrow at about 8 p.m. to finish watching everything else, okay? I'm going to put it in the comments one more time. Hi. Thank you so much for being here, Matthew. Yeah, we can't afford to play. Absolutely, we can't afford to play. Let me see. We're not going to be here. We're going to be here a little bit, about 7 more minutes, and we're going to shut it down, okay? So if you want to come up and you got anything to say, it's not a phone number, guys. Just hit the link. And again, you don't have to show your face. I show my face because I have to. I think the message is more powerful when I show my face. But you guys don't have to show your face. But let's really talk about what's going on. It's crazy work, in my opinion. My lips are dry. Please forgive me. I'm looking for my lip gloss. Because why do they not have his neck? None of that makes sense to me. None of it. Is there anybody that wants to come on the panel? Hi, Fudge. Thank you so much for being here. If there's not anyone that wants to come on the panel, we'll go ahead and end it for tonight. And if you don't mind, All right, okay. So Bones Black said he wants to come on the panel. I'm gonna drop the link. Please just hit the link. It's in the comments, Bones. There you go. Hit the link, download or whatever, and you'll be on a panel with us. Do you see the link, Bones? Guys, I'm 52 years old and I see a little Indian. It's okay. It's okay. I see the dimples though. Anyway, Bones, I did put the link in the comments. Do you want to come up? We are waiting on Bones, guys. While we are waiting on Bones, let's listen to a song that I wrote for Kendrick Johnson.
No. Some stories never lead us home.
Would never
17-year-old walked into school and never came home. Summer sorrows. 3 autopsies. 2 doctors, 2 different explanations. But true.
Come on up.
Has a way of fighting the lie.
Mama kissed him at the doorway.
Just for Kendrick Johnson. Drop it in the comments.
Never knew that morning sun would be the last time she see her son.
School bell ringing in the hallways.
Dreams walking through those tall days. But somewhere in that building code, the story started being told. Oh, they said it was an accident. Said the boy just slipped and went. But questions started rising slow, like whispers only heaven knows. Something in my spirit says there's more to see. Says there's more to see. When the truth gets buried, it still tries to breathe. Still tries to breathe. And even when the world looks away, justice still hears a mother pray.
2 autopsies, 2 different views.
2 doctors looking at the same young youth.
One says accident, let it go.
One says trauma,
look close the door.
But truth's got a voice,
and it won't stay quiet.
And when the world turns away,
heaven still hears a riot.
And even if nobody tells the truth tonight,
God still sees what's right.
First report said nothing there, just a tragedy in the air. Said no injuries could be seen. Closed the file, case routine. But another doctor looked again, saw the damage underneath the skin. Neck and jaw with a bleeding ran. Said the story didn't match the plan. 2 reports on the same young life, 2 conclusions cutting like a knife. So the world sits back and tries to see which truth fits reality. One autopsy says positional asphyxia. Another says blunt force trauma to the neck. 2 professional opinions, but only one truth.
Come on, hit the link, guys. Come on.
Years may pass, but pain don't fade. Truth don't die when life get made.
And every tear a mother cries still echoes underneath the sky. Justice ain't a whispered prayer.
It's the truth standing right there.
And even when the system sleeps, God still counts the tears we keep.
2 autopsies,
2 stories told.
1 young life.
Words are more than gold, and truth don't bend. And truth don't hide, and truth keeps walking side by side. And when the world refuses to say it out loud,
God still knows it now.
the case may close, the files may fade, but truth never disappears.
We're gonna end the live here soon, people.
Some stories never
True Game, we'll be here tomorrow.
Some stories never leave the soul.
We need you, baby. But while we're waiting, I want y'all to know one thing. In every song that I play on this channel, I wrote it. Auntie Leah.
Never leave the soul.
Listen to the words.
17-year-old.
I want y'all to know I wrote every song I play on my platform. All right. While we're waiting on others, I want you to listen to another song that I wrote. Guys, come on, because people are getting tired. But this ain't clout.
This ain't clout. This ain't views. It's the truth.
Come on, y'all. Truth gang in the comments.
Truth gang.
True gang. True gang.
Hey.
Truth gang. Truth gang. Truth gang. Truth gang.
We don't fold, we don't run, we don't break. Every lie getting exposed in they face.
No fear, no silence. We applying that pressure. If it's dark, we shine a light. We uncover whatever.
We don't stop, we don't quit, we don't bend. We going all the way to the end.
No matter where the road take us, we stand 10 toes down. It's the truth.
We want the truth.
Come on, y'all.
And nothing but the truth.
The truth.
We want the truth.
Hey.
We don't move our feelings, we move our facts. Paperwork, timelines, yeah, we double check that. If it don't add up, then we questioning it.
Hey.
If it's hidden in the dark, we addressing it. They want silence, they want control, they want narratives pushed that we don't expose, but we build different, yeah, we cut from truth. We don't buy the pressure, we don't water down proof. We ain't running from nothing but a lie, and when we do run, we running towards the truth. No hesitation, no fear in the booth, we tasting like we breaking through. We don't fold, we don't run, we don't break.
Hey, if y'all don't come out tonight, we don't meet up tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
Every lie getting exposed in they face.
They quiet when it matter, but we loud for them. Candlelight tears, yeah, we cry for them. They want to check, try to settle pain, but we want truth, we want real name. Ain't no healing if the truth hit. Ain't no peace if they slide it. They politics trying to twist the story, but we 10 toes, yeah, we fight for it.
Stand on it, no matter where we going. No matter what it costs, we showing. Truth over everything we chosen.
Truth.
We don't fold, we don't run, we don't break. Every lie getting exposed in they face.
No fear, no silence. We applying that pressure. If it's dark, we shining light. We uncover whatever.
We want the truth.
Guys, I'm about to head out of here.
And nothing.
I tried. Meet us tomorrow, okay? I love you. Peace and love. See you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m.
Please like, share, and subscribe.